Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bosses in Action. We've got a second time repeater here. Jeff, dude, I think it might be third. Is it third? No, it's second.
It's two. Yeah, it's two. I'm not
I
that
just
cool.
feel like I see you everywhere all the time. So,
Yeah, I'm trying, dude. I'm trying to duplicate myself somehow.
I love it. Well, last time we did this, if you missed it, it's on YouTube. It's on the Follow Up Boss YouTube channel. There's part one. This is part two, but we're actually going to dumb it down a little bit because part one, it was an overview of what's possible to do with Zapier and Follow Up Boss. And Jeff really dove into one aspect of it and said, hey, look at everything that I've done and look at this specific thing. And this is how it works.
Yep.
And it went over a lot of people's heads, but it was meant to do that. And today we're going to kind of scale it down, and he's going to go over kind of like a user experience to show you exactly how to maybe create a simple one. And for those of you who don't know who Jeff is, Jeff runs his own company. He's got it on a logo on the left side of his shirt. It's called Osirs. It's a cool combo. He's got the Follow Up Boss hat.
Yep.
And the Osiris sweater. So, Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I feel like a NASCAR. I was telling my wife, I'm like sponsored with like street text and all this stuff. It's like we're NASCAR.
Wait, what was that thing you picked up? What was that?
It's street text.
I don't have that one. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's just hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I found a nice little, lane here with systems and automation. And about a year ago, we dove into starting a company around helping with systems and automations, and we discovered that it was just a gigantic hole in the space. And so we're trying to fill it with things that are helpful, right? In between that area between the vendors and tech and the real estate teams or the real estate agents. And so we're innovating all the time in that space. But
how do we get a hold of you? Because I know people are going to want to know.
So if you just go to our website, it's osirs.co. And if you jump onto the schedule, that's usually the best way just to kind of brainstorm and chat. I love chatting with people on, really on Zoom, because then at that point we can dive into what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it's OSIRS, no I.
Damn it.
Yeah. That's already registered, and I would be making a trademark infringement if I use the word Osiris, but no, you're good. So what I was thinking about today was like helping, agents and teams with things that, automations can't do yet, right? Like they have been phenomenal in adding layers, like reassign to, agents, add notes, different triggers. And, years ago, we built that in Zapier, and now we could just build it within FUB, which is awesome. But there's still some like holes there that hopefully we can plug. And I wanted to show, how to put together a couple simple, Zaps and or like API, like really just how to structure a simple API call for Follow Up Boss. And so that if you had to use it, you could at least try it out. You could at least give it a go, right? So
all right, let's give it a shot. I know that you have a lot of Zaps going on. So if you want to quickly show, just to make our heads hurt a little bit,
sure.
Just be like, dude, this is what you can do. Now let me show you one simple one.
Yeah. So do you see my Zapier screen here with FUB testing?
I got you.
Okay, so this is the folder I built for today, but some of these are like, we've got tons of clients now, and we're doing all sorts of, post-appointment tech systems to, getting better RDC lead notifications. And so there's all sorts of different things you can do here. And more as we learn, we get into, okay, you just got to go right to the API. Right. And so I wanted to kind of help with, these are some of the clients, I kind of wanted to help with giving some of that framework here.
All right.
Right. And so if you've got people,
a simple one, I love it.
Simple.
I love that it's
right?
Simple.
Totally. And if there's anybody who's got any use cases that would be helpful to go through, just bring them up now, because I'm happy to even
Oh, cool.
replicate it a bit for you if it needs be.
So in the audience, if you've got an example like you saying, hey, I wish Follow-Up Boss could do this, right? Or what's the process for this? Go ahead and dump it into the chat and Jeff can take a look at it. He probably already has it made. So he'll probably just pop it up and show you how that works. While we're waiting, Jeff, what am I looking at right here?
So these are some of the ones I built for today. So a couple comments in the thread from last week was I just changed CRMs to FUB.
Yeah.
How do I get from here to here? Right. Yep. So I wanted to show like you've got triggers, right? And so you can have multiple different triggers from really just about any platform that you could think of. Okay. And let's say you had a new lead and you still used sync for whatever reason, right?
Yep.
Well, you can dump it into a spreadsheet. Okay. And Google Sheets is a phenomenal tool that's free. That's an intermediate between systems. Ooh. Right? And so what we've built here is a spreadsheet that's taking leads from multiple systems. Okay. And so we're going to dump it all into here. And the use case here is I want my sync leads to get this call action campaign to go into this retargeting audience, to get this notification. I want my street text leads to do this, this, and this, right? So there's different use cases. And so what you do is you can dump all of them into a Google Sheet, right? So here's the Google Sheet within that account. This is the spreadsheet FUB Zapier test. Okay. And then you just start mapping out the fields.
The ones that you want included, easy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So first name, last name, etc. Right? And that could be as the simple as the Zap goes, right? And then you could have a secondary Zap that pulls from that Google Sheet, and now that's where we're going to split it.
And then brings them into Follow-Up Boss.
That's right. Yep. And any other platform that you want, because really Zapier's best tool is for using other apps, using other systems that don't communicate traditionally with your CRM. All right. So here's the trigger of when we get a new spreadsheet row. Okay. Right. In that spreadsheet we just created. Okay. So I go find my spreadsheet. Right, you got to plug in the worksheet, and then now it's just going to trigger now every time a new row happens on that sheet, right?
It automatically sends it in.
Yep. And so I'm going to look for that client in Follow-Up Boss, right? So that I can have all the information I need. Okay, so in this case, I don't have Tristan Rocks in my database yet. So we're going to skip that step. But then now you can start these are called paths. Okay. So if it's a sync lead, then go down this path. And this is just a filter. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to just choose this and go, okay, only continue if my platform contains sync, right? And I'm going to test it and say, oh, it's not going to go through.
Got it.
Right. But if next time I have a lead hit the account that's sync, it's going to automatically add it to that spreadsheet, and which then triggers this. And now I can start a call action drip, and this is where the beautiful part of FUB, and I'm going to show this in a second, is I can assign it to the sync pond. I can assign it to whoever. You could do some different things in there that FUB's native lead flow cannot do.
Okay, perfect. Right. So I'm gonna tell people, remind them, you probably lost a few people. So I'm putting your info right there. Just in case, man. And then we did get a couple people, 3 people, 4 people, 5. We got a few people throwing in some stuff. So
good.
I'm going to read a couple for you. You tell me which ones you want to take on.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that we can do this one, but Sophia's asking, can you do auto listings to Craigslist?
So without diving too deep into that, right? Like what do you mean by auto listings? As soon as a listing hits the market, grabbing it and putting an ad out
Yeah,
there?
I'm assuming like that. Yeah.
You know, when you're trying to discover what's possible within Zapier, I just come into a Zap and I click the plus button and I start typing away,
Craigslist.
right? So Craigslist isn't in there,
All
right?
right.
But
So
but this is where you can start getting into the different call systems. Do you want to drop in a voicemail? Do you want to, hop on a
well,
call with
dude,
Calling?
on that, the next one is one I would assume you can do. Danielle saying, is there a way to trigger when there's a missed call to create a task on the profile?
That's a really good one. I've seen her post in there before too. And the trouble with that trigger, okay, is it's not possible within FUB's traditional Zap app. Okay, so Follow Up Boss and all these apps went to Zapier and they started to develop an app that said, okay, here are all our triggers. Okay, and the
Okay.
triggers that are available are new contact, new appointment, new deal, tag added, deal stage changed. Okay, so that's all you really got for the app. That's why I think it's really important if you want to start diving deeper into the API docs with FUB. And you've got something called webhooks. I'm not going to go into webhooks because that's really, really big, but you've got way more functionality in here. You've got relationships created as a trigger. You've got people deleted. You've got tags. You've got notes and text messages, calls, email marketing. These are all triggers.
This sounds like stuff we don't really need to learn so that we can continue to prospect and create relationships. I need to dump this to you.
Totally.
That's what I think,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? It totally is. But at some point you go, man, I don't want you to play shiny object syndrome, right? Where this looks great, I'm just going to go for it. I want you to think about the vision of what you're trying to accomplish and then go find the vehicles that are going to help you get there. And then look at your dollar per hour. If your dollar per hour is over 150, 200, 250 an hour plus, you got to leverage. You just got to leverage.
I agree. All right. There's 3 more here for you.
Sure.
All right. Sep is asking, was thinking about changing Follow Up Boss pipeline stage status when I change it in my Google Sheet that I'm using for transaction management. Is that possible? Is it too glitchy? What are your thoughts?
100%. You can. What you got to think through is your trigger, right? So if your trigger is Google, right? So anytime you change a sheet, right? So let's look at Google Sheets for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your triggers, right? So you only have new. You have updated, but updated and Google Sheets is very glitchy, clunky, right? What I would rather you do is anything in FUB as a trigger is going to be very reliable, very, very reliable. And one other piece of advice as you're kind of going through this maze is make it consistent, your triggers throughout. If you can build out this with your consistent triggers as of like stage change, stage change, it does this, stage change, it does this.
I think that's
Okay?
the key right there, dude.
Yeah, because then it gets too confusing and you got to think it down to the agent level, right? Where they go, all you got to do, agents, is just change the stage.
That's it. You're simplifying it for them so they don't screw it up and we're like, what happened?
Yeah. I mean, if you could think about that as your first spot, then everything else will kind of fill in on its own.
All right. So Ryan's saying, have you found a way when working with the API to get around the 100 rows of data limitation?
Yeah, absolutely. So and in fact, I have some of this pulled up here and that might be helpful to show.
Cool.
Okay. So this one is a really good Zap because if you've noticed in Follow Up Boss, when you do an action plan, you have a delay, right? You can only delay for a day, right? This runs days. And that makes sense because that's a lot of calls, that's a lot of work on their servers to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to check the lead in 10 minutes, to see if it has a phone call and a text. And if it doesn't, move it, right?
Yeah.
Really good use case. So what you do is you set up your Zap as a new contact in FUB, okay? And I'm just gonna use our dummy account here, okay? And delay for your 10 minutes, right? Let it sit for 10, 5, 2, doesn't matter. You can get real granular here. Then this is gonna answer his question, is you're gonna use, this is an API call that I wanted to show everybody, okay? This is a webhook. Okay, so you just type in webhook, and it is a premium feature. But if you're looking to get into this, like, premium basically equals nerd. Like you're nerd if you're hitting at this level, right? And so when you do a get request, that means you're trying to get information from a system,
Okay.
right? And then here's their URL. You're trying to find a person that's on the people endpoint. And then here's the ID. And then this is the key to answering his question is fields equals all fields. Okay. What that does is this pulls all the custom fields, everything. So now think about if a YLOPO lead hits your account and they are looking at homes above a certain price point, you can get real deep with this real quick.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, dude, that's cool.
So there's the URL. And then this is the next most important thing I wanted to show you is when you're plugging in your API in Zapier, okay, you plug it in directly into here, into the basic authorization with a bar. Okay, this bar is the button right above your return button. Okay, and just click Shift bar, and that mimics a colon on the API. Okay, and that's it. And now what this is going to do when I do that GET request is it's going to find all those details, right? So this is where all my tags are here, the phones are here, last received email, right? Last incoming call, first call, right? You've got a bunch of data here. Last text sent, the amount of text sent. And now you can go, okay, in 10 minutes, if it hasn't been called, then I'm going to do something different. If it has been called, then I'm going to do something different. That's how you can start to layer this out.
I like that, dude. How long did it take you to find that bar? Like that you needed the bar.
Yeah, totally. I think actually I started reading Zapier's docs, and it was this actually right here, a pipe separated the username and password for standard. That was it. Crazy, right?
It's always the little things that take forever, dude.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, I mean, that's huge. And if you can start to just, here's another GET request against events. So check this one out. This is an activity pulled from here,
Okay.
right? So this is a YLOPO client lead. And so it creates an event. This person did something on a website that says this is an event. I have to go find that ID. So I can just type in activity ID, okay? And this is email, this is lead. And check what happens in here. This is gonna tell me all the data that is pulled from what they search for, their price points, the URL. I mean, think about texting that URL back to the client now.
Dude.
You've got lots of different functionalities now built in within if you just start to barely tap into the API.
I love that. Rosario is asking, can you pull back a homebot preview digest link into a custom field in Follow-Up Boss?
Yeah, so when you do a get with all fields, okay, that means it's going to pull all fields. It's quite a bit of data. So all these custom fields, boom, 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 boom. All these custom fields start pulling back, right? And you can use it. You can use it. Now, there's lots of risks involved with this, right? Because that data is very customized, it's individual, but you can start to say, if this is full, right? Here's your filter. So if, I'll just use this one as the example. not called. So we're saying if this lead has not been called, right? So I'm going to go find that person, which is my third step. And I'm looking for call data. So I'm just going to type in the word call and go, okay, last call has last call outgoing
Mhm.
is less than 1, right? So within 10 minutes, if I have less than 1 phone call, that means that lead got claimed and hasn't been called.
Got it. And then you can decide what to do with it from there.
Yeah, I can send it out to the rest of the team. I could put it into a pond,
Mhm.
right? These are functions that the traditional lead flow and FUB don't have because it's a lot of server work. So this helps in those little areas in case you need them, right?
I love that. So Sophia's saying, can't you just do the same thing with the follow-up boss pixel?
In what way? Like if
Yeah, I'm assuming
yeah,
there was
you can.
before that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely is the automations have a lot of power now, right? With property saved, property viewed, all that. So the holes are getting shorter and smaller and smaller and smaller that you
Mhm.
need Zapier for. But those could be $50,000 holes, $100,000 holes.
Yeah.
What if within 5 minutes a Y local pay-per-click lead that said, I want to see this house doesn't get called? Well, you can reroute it immediately to somebody who's wanting to take it.
And you
That's
can
a
have
gigantic hole.
those specific leads that pop in automatically get assigned to people by a phone call, right? It'll just blast it out to call action and be like, whoever picks it up.
Yep. Yep. So even this not called, well, now you can go into call action and post it directly into the call action rotation.
All right, we had a question also. If one of those leads is a priority lead from Ylopo, like ready to go, wants to see property, it's already assigned to an agent.
Hmm.
Does it automatically let that agent know? If you can you set it up through here so that it calls that agent?
You can and it can't. There's lots of different answers to that question. Remember, this is just the new contact, right? So
Okay.
if you just go in here and you start to play around with the triggers, right? Tag added to, oops, lots of different triggers that you can use, right? But you do have tag added, which is interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I had an automation that said property viewed, new inquiry, property saved? I could apply a tag that says property saved with this automation and then grab it from here, tag added, property saved, and kick it to callingly, to call action, to whatever, right? And again, like this is where it's a maze of what's possible.
Dude.
You got to think through, what do you want? What's the end product? What's the end goal? And then go develop that. Because until then, you're like, oh, that's cool, I can do this, 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 and this, and this. And you're just going to waste time. You
That's true.
really are.
Well, dude, we've got 3 minutes left. What would you say? And it sucks because it went so fast. What would you say is the number one pain point for most agents where they're like, you know what, I really need it for this specifically, or maybe they're not seeing it. What do you see as being the main pain point that they don't see?
I think the industry is changing to where the more you can focus on the top 20, top 10%, the more productive, the higher energy level you'll have, which means you're going to have higher quality, right? So cold calling, right, is you always try to do that early in the morning because that's when your energy level is the highest. So if you get somebody, you're more likely to convert them when you're at your best,
True.
right? Well, if you've been grinding away and you finally get that one call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're worn out, your quality goes down, right? So if you can build something that holds the bulk of the work so that you just take the cream off the top, then every single time you pull something from the top, you're at your best. You have high quality. Those are the people that want to respond.
Yeah.
right? So you need to have that engine of automation with calls, text, emails, and emails I could basically throw out the window. And that's what I see is agents are trying to do everything except for leverage 75, 80%, like a gigantic number,
Yeah.
right? And focus on the 5 to 10% and be the pro in that space.
Dude, what a great point, by the way, to focus on those that are recurringly coming back to your website, right?
Yep.
Favoriting, saving, all, and obviously if they say we want to see a property, right?
Right.
But
But
focusing,
that would normally get slipped through the cracks if you have everything coming at you. You miss those golden nuggets and somebody else will claim them.
that's so true, man. That's so true. Well, look, thank you for being on again.
Sure.
And since I thought it was your third time, we're going to have you back for a third time. And
Sure.
put up your link or a way to get a hold of you if somebody wants to use your services. I'm going to throw the link I have, which is Osiris spelled correctly
Yeah.
.co/home. And if there's any other way to get a hold of you, just throw it in there.
Yeah. And you can go to our schedule there. You can just email me. Email's best because, or Facebook Messenger, just DM me. I usually get back to those within the same day. We're just swamped and we're looking for innovation, right? Like think of those holes in between. And if we can help plug them, I'm happy to brainstorm ideas to help you. I want to make, 50, 60, $100,000 just from plugging a gap, real quick, besides buying more leads.
That's the key, dude. Rosario is saying, what's the best way to get started with Fub hooks or Fub web hooks? Sorry.
Schedule a call, start to do some, YouTube research, right? And take drink a cup of coffee and start reading the docs. Like,
drink a few cups of, you know what? Make a whole coffee batch
yeah,
and plan 2 days to do nothing but that at least.
yeah,
So,
totally.
Jeff, thanks for being on again. And thank you everybody for watching. This will be recorded, thrown into the YouTube channel. If you missed part of it, and if you missed part one, it's there. Jeff, you're awesome, bro. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah, anytime. Good to see you guys.